A narcissist always thinks they're winning. That's their game. The whole setup is built on the idea that they get the last word. They're the smartest in the room. They're the one in control. And the way they keep that illusion alive is by pulling you into constant reactions. They poke, they prod, they drop little comments. They push your buttons just to see you light up. Because for them, your reaction is fuel. If you get angry, they win. If you cry, they win. If you start explaining yourself, they win. If you defend yourself, they win. Every little bit of emotional energy you give them, they eat it up like oxygen. But here's the thing nobody tells you in the beginning. The narcissist loses the moment you stop playing that game. I'm not saying it's easy. Let's be honest. When someone pushes your buttons, the natural reaction is to defend yourself. You want to set the record straight. You want them to understand how wrong they are. You want fairness. And that's exactly the trap. Because a narcissist isn't looking for truth or fairness. They're not looking for resolution. Their only goal is to keep you dancing around their drama. As long as you're reacting, they're still in control. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment you take a breath and say to yourself, I don't need to prove anything here, that's when the whole house of cards starts to collapse. Picture it. They throw some insult your way, or they twist your words, or they play victim. And instead of jumping in, instead of defending yourself or raising your voice, you just don't. Maybe you walk away. Maybe you calmly say, I'm not having this conversation. Maybe you just look at them and stay silent. And suddenly, they're left with nothing to work with. It's like pulling the plug out of a power source. You've seen a balloon deflate, right? That's what happens. All the tension, all the control, it just fizzles. Of course, in the beginning, they'll push harder. They'll test you. Narcissists don't give up control easily. So at first you might see them double down. The insults get sharper. The manipulation gets thicker. 1 minute they're raging. The next minute they're playing sweet and innocent just to pull you back in. But if you stay consistent, if you keep your center, if you remind yourself, this isn't about me, this is about their need for control. Eventually, they start to realize the old tricks aren't working anymore. And for a narcissist, that's the ultimate defeat. Because what they can't stand is losing access to your emotions. That's their supply. They don't care whether it's positive or negative. They'll take admiration. They'll take anger. They'll take tears, anything. But when you stop supplying, they're starving. And when they're starving, they lose. Let me make this clear, though. Not reacting doesn't mean you sit there quietly suffering. It doesn't mean you bite your tongue while they walk all over you. It's not about swallowing your pain. It's about stepping out of the battlefield altogether. You don't need to win the argument. You don't need to explain your side 15 times. You don't need to convince them of anything. You set your boundary calmly and you keep it. You say, I'm not discussing this. Or, I need space right now. Or even just, no. And then you move on. That's not silence out of weakness. That's silence out of power. Think of it this way. Narcissists love to imagine they've got a remote control for you. They push the guilt button, and suddenly you're apologizing. They push the shame button, and you're over-explaining yourself. They push the anger button, and you're yelling. But imagine you take the batteries out of that remote. They press the buttons all they want, but nothing happens. That's when they realize the game is over. That's when they lose. And something amazing happens on your side, too. The first time you really don't react. The first time their words just kind of bounce off instead of sinking in. You feel this wave of freedom. You realize, wait a minute, I don't actually have to engage. I don't owe them my energy. I can just walk away. And that realization, that shift is life-changing. Because suddenly you're not living in their world anymore. You're living in yours. They lose the moment you stop needing their approval. That's another piece of the puzzle. See, narcissists use this push-pull dynamic. They tear you down. Then every once in a while they toss you a crumb of praise. And that little crumb feels huge because you've been starved of it. You think, finally they noticed me. Finally I did something right. And then you chase that feeling again and again. It's like an addiction. But once you understand that your worth doesn't come from their approval, once you stop craving those little crumbs, suddenly you don't need their validation at all. And when you don't need it, they can't dangle it over you anymore. It's funny, because people often feel guilty when they first start pulling back. They think, am I being too cold? Am I being unkind? But what's actually happening is you're reclaiming yourself. You're saying, my peace matters more than your drama. My self-respect matters more than this endless cycle. That's not cruel. That's healthy. And of course, the narcissist will frame it differently. They'll say you've changed, you've become distant, you don't care. They'll try to guilt trip you, because that's their last weapon. But deep down, they know, this is what losing feels like. The truth is, a narcissist only exists as long as there's an audience. They need someone reacting, someone listening, someone buying into their show. Without that, the curtain drops. The lights go out. They're left alone with themselves. And that's the one thing they can't stand. So when you stop reacting, when you stop playing, when you choose your peace over their chaos, you win. And their loss is bigger than you think. It's not just that they lost the argument. It's not just that they didn't get under your skin this time. It's that they lost control over the very thing they thrive on, your energy. And you walk away lighter. You walk away stronger. You walk away knowing you don't have to play their game ever again. And that is the moment the narcissist truly loses.